All right. Well, welcome to the RCHAIN Co-op's annual general meeting for 2021. I appreciate everyone's participation in the election. And before I get to the State of the Union address, I will give everyone the results of the election. So Jim Whitescarver mailed these out. There is one issue that there is some person who has two co-op membership identities, so they voted twice. So we may have to adjust the votes. What we have clearly is that Shutzi Lin is a board member, Eric Meng is a board member, and Daryl Newdorf is a board member. And currently, if the votes remain the same after we've adjusted for the double voting, then Theo Hellenius is also a board member. Any questions about that? I would like to congratulate the new board on their on their seats, and looking forward to working with everyone over the next year. Very good. Okay, so let me make just a few comments, and then I will turn things over to Jackie to give some details about the co-op financials. So let me do a quick screen share here. Okay. So I want to keep my comments brief. You know, we give updates twice a week, every week. So, and I'm sure that, you know, this is not a convenient time for many people. So, I'll try to keep everything brief. But I did want to point out that last year at this time, we were deeply in debt. We were struggling with a lawsuit, and we were behind the curve on our feature set delivery. This year, we have climbed out of much of our debt. We've turned the tables on the lawsuit. We have block merge and testnet, and our prospects have never looked better. And I think, you know, we've had these discussions, but these are due to heroic efforts of our dev team. I think everyone has seen through the check-ins and through the demos and the times when they give presentations to the co-op, how hard everyone is working. They're just incredible. To the staff, and we'll talk a little bit about that after the financials, and especially to the China marketing team, and I'll address that some of their accomplishments. But I think, as you know, some of the highlights with respect to the China marketing team, through their efforts, we secured funding that kept us afloat at the beginning of the year. We were the only blockchain project to present at the IFF, and we were able to participate in the AIM Summit, which was led to these prospects that are developing now. And finally, over and above all of the efforts from all of those people, our members have really stepped up in many different ways. I appreciate all the business development work, all of the hard questions, and all of the good dialogue and engagement that we've seen, especially over the last few weeks. So I want to congratulate everyone who's participating in RCHAIN. You certainly deserve recognition. With that, I would like to turn it over to Jackie give her a chance to walk us through the financials. Jackie, are you ready?
Yes, sir, I am.
All right, over to you.
So I believe that Lilia was going to make these available to review. I know that would have been recently, so I'm not sure if she absolutely did that yet.
No, it'll go up on GitHub. I just want to give the board a chance to review it before we place it on GitHub.
Yeah, okay. So I'm really, since most people haven't had a chance to look at this, I'm going to point out a couple of things that are real obvious to me. And then, of course, if something else is, more information is needed, we can always stress that later. The things that are obvious to me is you can see our marketing contractors has gone up quite a bit in the second quarter. That is due to bringing on the Yunes group and a large payment to Attic B. And I do believe that was very purposeful. I know there was a lot of talk in budgets about increasing that marketing. So that was expected. Devs have gone up slightly, and we are expecting more of that. We hired some new developers. So you'll actually see that continue to grow a little bit. The software just is really a chance thing. It looks like it's doubled, but that was really 2 annual payments, I believe, made out to, I had that in the top of my head, but 2 particular software that we paid annual fees, I believe, to in quarter 2. So that's more of a happenstance that looks doubled. And then the board comp, you'll notice in quarter 1, we did not get quarter 4 accrued in 2020. So that was expensed in quarter 1. You should see that even more out for the year as we continue to accrue instead of expense. There is an Ideathon award in quarter 2. I don't know how often those will happen, but at this point it was a one-off. You'll see deferred wages in quarter 1 that are no longer occurring, so you will not see that going forward as long as plans don't change. That has stopped. There was a wage and taxes affected in quarter 2 by a payoff of a former employee, so you'll see that in quarter 2. So that should actually go back to quarter 1 numbers for the rest of the year. Kind of at the bottom here, the penalty is the DFI. I don't understand all of that, but I understand that was expected. So that was one-off for quarter 1. And then also the seniorage you see was paid to the devs for putting off their 2020 payments until this year. So that's majority of that. We will see some more of that posted as we do more of the staking payouts, and we get that taken care of the rest of the year. But that is specifically for the dev payments that were held off in 2020. So that's kind of the highlights I saw and that I noted. I'm not sure if there is any particular questions we want to go over at this time, or if we want to just get a chance to look them over, and I'm always happy to address them at a later date.
Any questions from anyone? I'm sure people will want some time to go over those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate, Jackie, you staying on top of this. I know the co-op books are not the easiest books to work with because there's so many different currencies and so many different activities. I know it's you again, heroic efforts on your part to keep up with all of that stuff. So thank you very much for that.
It's been an interesting couple of years with the changeover from Rock to Rev last year, and then the lots of cryptocurrency this year. But hopefully, we hope that that's mostly on top of now. So until another big change happens, but
yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm not hearing anyone. Okay. So Ian, apparently there's some people who can't get in. So apparently Evan is unable to get in and Juju is unable to get in. If you can just check and see if they're in the waiting room or something.
I see Juju in the meeting.
Okay, all right. So Juju's apparently in.
I know that it was a nightmare for me to get in. The link was a little weird.
That's strange. Okay. All right. So I did want to point out several things with respect to the staff. So there's some folks who are working almost round the clock that really need to be recognized. So Gurinder and Ian, for example, are frequently working round the clock to make sure that the hiccups to the network are handled and gracefully and as smoothly as possible. Likewise, Will Q is frequently up at all hours, making sure that all of our clients, such as exchanges, their technical needs are met. Lilia seems to never sleep. She's constantly making sure that I'm where I need to be and that meetings are coordinated. And likewise, Shutzi just seems to never sleep at all. So I think we really, those folks really deserve special mention. Also, I want to give a shout out to the POC team. Over the last few weeks, they've really started to pick up steam and show us what it's like to deliver a service on top of RCHAIN. It's really quite nice. The way the Eve Arnold Foundation POC code is coming together. So I really appreciate that. And those efforts have led to many other opportunities. So I want to make sure that everyone on that team is recognized. There are too many people whose names need to be recognized, so I won't go through everyone, but know that you are valued, very much so. I do want to say that what's in front of us this next few weeks is going to be quite interesting. As people have heard in this channel on Friday, we're in the midst of doing due diligence with Dunhill von Bismarck. We still have lots of work to do to make sure, but at least according to them, if they are for real, they already have 2 investors who want to take the full $30 million ask. I also, in the same breath, I need to recognize that if it hadn't been for the tireless work of the staff, there would not be, the co-op would not have an ability to make that ask. It's only because of all the work that's gone into Dazzle and RPI that we're in a position to be able to do this round of fundraising. So I really think people need to understand, the foresight and the diligence and the creativity that's gone into making those into respectable offerings that are clearly attracting investors. Are there any questions about any of that?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment for everybody who's listening to what Greg has just said. The best is yet to come.
Yeah, you nailed it. Absolutely. But I want to provide a little bit of balance to that. There's a lot of optimism about RCHAIN. By the same token, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I do need to make some other points. People have heard me say this on many occasions in the climate calls and in other talks. When I spoke at the AIM summit, I was basically weaving in and out, information about what it means to build a scalable blockchain and why scaling comes from having a good mathematical foundation. But eventually there opened up a time when I could talk about, climate change. And, I just described the problem that I keep describing over and over again, which is that even if you wave a magic fairy wand right now and you stop all carbon emissions right now, we are going to blow past the 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature change. What we're actually on track for is about 2.7 degree temperature rise above the baseline. But just beyond the 1.5, the tropical zone around the planet becomes uninhabitable. So I don't know if folks in this venue have heard about the wet bulb conditions, but this is the situation is that the humidity and the temperature are so high that your sweat doesn't cool you off, and so you don't even know that you're dying. Unfortunately, about 2.8 billion people live in the tropical zone around the planet. So that means that possibly in as little as 10 years' time, 2.8 billion people will become climate migrants. And while I've made no secret that the reason I'm building RCHAIN and the reason I'm participating in what we're doing is to build a global compute infrastructure that can be used to coordinate from the grassroots all the way up to the top. But what I really want to impress upon people is that now is the time to make trusted connections, right? If you think about the connections that we've been forging here in the co-op and the kind of fire that we've been through, we're going to wish we had those kinds of problems in the next 10 years. But also, I think that we've learned about what it means to trust each other. So we need to, over the next 10 years, I recommend with all my heart, forge relationships with people you can trust with your life, not with the next transaction. And look, if I've got it wrong, or if the science is wrong, then, all you've done is you've spent your time forging lifelong connections, which is not a bad outcome if it turns out that things are rosy and the science is wrong. But if the science is right, then these connections will be your lifeline. And I think that's all I want to say in terms of how, the things I want to talk about with respect to the RCHAIN community. So let me turn the floor over to the folks here. Any questions, comments, concerns? What's on your mind?
Well, I have two comments to make. One, this is something that you won't do yourself, so I think I have to do it for you. And that is that for a few years now, you have been saying this. You've been trumpeting the cause of climate change. And at first, many community members kind of looked at it as something to tolerate. They kind of looked at it as if perhaps, RCHAIN's building this really solid platform, but we have to kind of put up with Greg's hobby. I don't think there's going to be too many people saying that anymore. 2021 became a year when every single blockchain scrambled to trumpet the idea that they are environmentally friendly because of the tweet of Elon Musk on May 6th. So I just want to say, Greg, that you have been right all along. And I think you need some credit for that. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is I discovered a book by someone today that I think you'd find quite fascinating. It's called Move, The Forces Uprooting Us by a fellow named Parag Khanna. And it is about exactly what you're talking about, the massive migration that is about to occur in the next decade or so. So anyway, I just wanted to say those two things.
Thank you, Daryl.
Hi, Greg, and everybody on the call. Steve Rostalber here. I just want to say one thing, really, just point out one thing that many members might not quite realise. But Greg mentioned these two bits of innovation around Dazzle and around RCHAIN Publishing. And RCHAIN Publishing was born out of, in many ways, was born out of the COVID work that we were trying to do. And it was at that time that I was talking with and working with Dr. Frank Arnold, who's quite famous in the UK and the UN for being the UN rapporteur on torture victims. He's a medical doctor. And that work, although we didn't get a shot at doing a COVID passport, that work led to the RCHAIN File Manager, RFM, that Raphael and Theo did, as the basis for that COVID passport. And then in conversation, because it wasn't going well with the COVID passport, in conversation with Dr. Frank Arnold, who is hugely involved in the day-to-day work of dealing with the impact of climate change because of the sorts of refugees and asylum seekers he deals with. That's when he came to me and said, well, look, we're looking for a long-term solution to store Eve Arnold's photographs. He's the son of Eve Arnold. And it's really important to us that whatever technology we use is energy efficient. We don't want to do this on a standard blockchain that will kill the planet. Could RCHAIN do it? And he already knew that the chances were that we could. And so rolling forward, this RPI thing, where the Arnold Foundation is sharing revenue on the sale of one previously unpublished photograph of Marilyn Monroe, which will become an NFT in due course and then be sold in some way, shape or form. On the basis of that one act, to offset the cost of doing RPI, which the RPI team has done really well, it is highly likely that if that does well, so if it does better than the photograph itself would do on its own, which we believe it will, it is highly likely that Magnum, as a cooperative themselves, will want to sign a deal with us, not exclusive, to be an NFT platform, and will want to go into some sort of A/B testing over the next, I would imagine, over the next 3 months, possibly considerably sooner. So I just want to point that out, because the whole issue of the NFT stuff came out because of climate change. Without climate change and addressing climate change and the role that RCHAIN plays, tiny as it may seem at this point, we would not be having the discussions we are with Magnum and with the Arnold family. So this climate change focus for RCHAIN, which is one of the reasons I joined, I think is proving to be incredibly important. And I think that importance will just get more. So yes, Greg's completely right in what he foresaw, and now we're seeing it on a day-to-day basis. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Steve. Anyone else? Silence is golden. Thank you all very much. I'm glad we can keep the meeting short and sweet and efficient. Please stay safe. Remember that this is your co-op, and really it belongs to you. And I will see you on the other side.